I have seen people working in the HR space because they could not say no to an XLRI offer, right? I know people who are supply chain professionals today because the company that offered them supply chain was far better than the company that offered them sales, and they are stuck. And I think that's something people really need to think about. Choosing a brand over choosing what you are best for is something people find it still difficult.
There is a saying that with experience comes expertise, and just the experience is sometimes not enough. There is exuberance that is also needed. And today we are shooting a video where we are going to see what experience and exuberance both bring to the table. And to do that, we are at a place which is a great culmination of the two. We are sitting at Asian Paints Bombay office, and I'm joined with two people here who will actually show you what experience and exuberance does to a particular company. So I have Ali with me here, who has 16 years of experience on the back of his shirt. As much as I know, Ali can tell me better if he has more. And I have Chaitanya with me today.
Hello.
Who is just graduated from a B school. It's been 2 years now,
2 years,
Chaitanya?
yes. I've passed out from my college in 2020.
And which college was it, Chaitanya?
I'm from XLRI, Jamshedpur.
Right. And what about you, Ali?
I graduated from IIM Bangalore in 2005.
Right. So I will start this conversation with you, Ali, because you have seen a lot of years setting by. In this particular company also, you have spent a considerable amount of time. Few years back, let's say more than a decade back, you were in a place where Chaitanya is right now.
Yeah.
Starting your career right after the B school. How was that like, and from there, how much of a shift has happened according to you?
So when I started and I look back, I think the kind of latitude that I was given to learn and make mistakes, and the kind of responsibilities that were assigned on a complete fresher, I also didn't have work experience before my MBA, was extraordinary, and I think that's really helped shape my journey. Yeah, when I do look back, the rawness, the lack of perspective of how corporate life is really starkly stands out. And I think organizations that are tuned to having freshers, I think help shape their professional journeys better is one insight that I have.
What about you, Chaitanya?
When you straight come from a university, you have a very different picture of how organizations work. But then you get the real picture of how they work and what is the scale of them. Then you realize that, okay, you have a lot to learn.
I think the graduate today is far more risk taking.
Right.
And he or she is far more open to experimenting, with career, with different journeys, and also I think it also comes from the overall economic stability and the comfort. I don't think people are worried about supporting their aged parents to the same extent as maybe 15 years back. So I think that is a good thing because it obviously allows people to do more of what they really want. But yeah, it also makes people a little more impatient. So I think cuts both ways. But yeah, definitely that is something that I think has changed over time.
It's a thing that people would associate, the first thing they would associate with me, that Chaitanya works in Asian Paints. So I would like to make sure that the company is something that is aligned to my social brand.
And how much of a job market scenario has shifted? We have seen the tremendous impact of COVID on the businesses worldwide, right? And we have seen its effect in India also. Back-to-back lockdowns have happened. According to you, from your time, you have also seen a financial crisis that has happened in the year 2008, 2009, when you were also part of this particular corporate world. How much do you think all of this combined has shifted the entire job market and the hiring scenario right now?
Yeah, so I think the hiring scenario has seen a significant change. I think, as I mentioned, organizations that are more stable and more were more valued at one point of time, their value probably has remained the same, but organizations that are far more risky, both in terms of upside and downside, their value has gone up in the world because I think that risk is not relevant now. I think what is relevant is the quality of work, the potential for growth, right? All those would have still been there, but the risk part would have reduced their value. Second one, as I probably building on what I said earlier, there is a little less patience. People are a little more in a hurry. I don't know if people are joining organizations for long tenures as much. And I think that's not necessarily the case always. People would have had shorter tenures earlier also, but I think that percentage has moved slightly more towards people just looking at it as maybe 3 years, 4 years, not really saying that okay, what if I am here for the next 10 years? Should I take this plunge? So and I think that's also to do with the job market being far more competitive, and I don't think COVID has made any dent to that. In fact, it has only aggravated the challenge, probably I would say. So the job market is as vibrant. I mean, we are recruiting as many, if not more.
Do you think MNCs or big corporates or organizations can actually learn something from these startups?
Yeah, they should, and I'm sure they are. One is making you're competing for the same talent, right? So you need to make it as exciting for the talent and show. So I think, I mean, again, I can speak from Asian Paints. We were very self-content with what we were. Didn't really go out in the world to showcase what we have, what we offer, to a limited extent, not really going out of the way. I think that's one space where we have moved quite a bit. I'm sure other MNCs also are doing similar things and taking such steps. So I think it's only wise to learn from others and try and get the same share of the pie.
Right. What about you, Chaitanya? Now I'll come to you. An ideal workplace for a person like you who belongs to this generation and who has seen things happening in a very dynamic culture, the office space itself, the vibrant office spaces that we are building today. What is the demand of the youth today, according to you? What do you feel an office should have or a corporate setup should have for you to prosper?
I think the hygiene factor remains there, right? The hygiene factors remain there, like pay, the kind of work you're getting, the growth that the company offers. But all these motivational factors are now coming into the picture in a large way. Okay, like having an office which looks good was not a matter of concern to somebody back in the age, but now it is something which is important. So these things are definitely there, and more. So the idea is to make the workplace more exciting rather than more stable.
You must have seen a lot of failures also in your life, because life is not all bed of roses and we all know it, right? We have our bad days also, and I'm sure you still have your bad days, right? And that calls for addressing those failures. Has it happened to you that it has taught you something in a big way that you remember till now in your journey so far?
So I don't have a very sharp example here, but if I look back, I think, and I also see maybe I may have failed, some of my colleagues may have had such instances. I think what really stands out is how you bounce back. Right. And I think what did you do learn from that failure. I think these are two things that I have seen really stand out, and people who have done better at that have probably been more successful. I mean, I think this generation is far more failure friendly probably, I would say. But yeah, two things I would say is, one is be persistent, because I think you keep persisting, you keep trying, you keep taking the effort, to the extent of your capabilities you will succeed. And second is be pragmatic. Okay, and I know it doesn't sound very good to say, but everybody needs to know what they can aspire for and what they can achieve, and balancing pragmatism with ambition and persisting, I think, is the right balance.
Lovely, that's a great advice. Chaitanya, do you agree that your generation or our generation is more okay with failures?
We know the theory, absolutely, yes. not sure about practicality.
Does it help to see, people like Ali, people like, people who have lived through those experiences? They have made those mistakes, right? They have failed. They tell you that, look, this is fine. If this has not worked out, it will tomorrow.
Yeah.
So does that help?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example here. So I work in the international businesses, right? So just last month only I visited Egypt for a project, right? And I was very scared that I have only 8 days. I don't know if I'll gonna achieve the, what is the end result I was going for. And I was really scared that what if I don't, because I'll waste the entire trip. And the chief manager came to my bench and he said that I went to Egypt in 2008. I did nothing at all there. So I don't know, he must have done a lot of things, but to hear that one sentence, that comforted me so much. So yeah, people having same experience, and all of the leaders, most of the leaders, not all of, I would say 80-90% of the leaders at Asian Paints were MTs at one time. Right. So we know that the thing that they're saying is absolutely authentic.
Right. So Ali, I would like to know this from you now. You must have hired for a long time, and you must have seen a lot of these new graduates like Chaitanya from these schools. When we talk about being culture fit, what exactly does that mean to you and to Asian Paints also?
It's such a difficult question to answer because you know the answer but you can't express it.
Right.
When you interview and you generally get a sense, and not only interview, I mean let's be honest, okay, in campus hiring processes there is a strike rate. You probably get 8 out of 10 right. Okay. True. So even after people join, there is a sense, oh, this is a culture fit. This is not a culture fit. But it's very difficult to articulate it. I don't know if I am going to be able to articulate that, but you're always looking for that. Right. Maybe I'm not answering your question, but very clearly you're not looking to hire the best candidate, but you're looking to hire the best fit candidate. And that best fit is slightly nebulous to define, and I'm sure different organizations would have different definitions, but I'm sure everybody is intuitively looking for that.
So if not a defined definitive sense of what a culture fit would be, can we talk about some skills that these students that you are going to hire, they would definitely have in themselves when they join an organization like this?
So I look for two things. First and foremost, I look for the ability to think. Right. And the ability to think is largely tested in your domain of function, right? So if somebody is coming in supply chain, I'd look for that over there. Connecting the dots, understanding what you did in your theory, in your internship. How do you connect all the dots and see how you would have looked back to your pre-MBA work experience, if you have any. Or even if you look at practices which are prevalent in the market, you have a point of view on that. So ability to think in your functional domain and connect the dots between what you've learned and what you've seen and what you're going to see is one important piece that we look for. And the second, I personally feel, which is very important, is task ownership.
Let's come to you, Chaitanya. When you were in your B school, you were making that decision of your life that this is the company that I want to make my career in. Were there certain things that you were looking into, in terms of the kind of roles that you will be getting, in terms of the life that you will be leading, in terms of the culture of the organization that you will be getting? What is the major consideration in a student's mind that happens?
There are two kinds of talent, right? One will have pre-MBA work experience and one will not have. So if I'm talking about myself, I was a fresher back then, so I didn't have the work experience. So one thing which was very important to me was the word of mouth from my seniors, right? And second thing, I don't think a lot of people would go out and find out what will they do, right? Because you're not aware of things that can go bad. Okay, you are aware of things that can go well. So all these hygiene factors are definitely very important, but you don't know what do you expect.
Moving on, Chaitanya, at this point I would like to know, you take your precautions while you are in your B school. You make the right choice. You try and gauge things as best as you can. But do you think in the journey that you have taken so far, was there a point where you thought that maybe if I would have done this a little differently, it would have been yielding better results for me?
In my life, I've done a lot of things because I know I don't want to do this, hence I am doing that. right? So I didn't know that I want this. I knew that I don't want this. So I think that I would want to change that, to do that due diligence before doing anything. And while some people get lucky and they hit the right spot, but some people have dire consequences of not knowing what they are going to achieve, and right. So what I would do definitely is, put more due diligence before taking any decisions, right? So there are certain courses that hindsight I am thinking, why did I not take that course? Because at that moment of time the personality is very different from what it is right now. So definitely I would say that I would want to get some insights and believe more in what the seniors, and not just seniors, people who have more experience than you.
Also, have you questioned yourself, Ali, ever in any of the decisions that you have taken and thought that, I might have done this differently in that?
Few and far. I think I'm pretty happy with some of the decisions I took, which is why I'm still here 16 years into this company. So I have been able to, have things going in the way I wanted them, in terms of life stages, role changes, etc. So I don't have any regrets or anything of that sort. But I just wanted to, build on what Chaitanya said. I have seen people working in the HR space because they could not say no to an XLRI offer, right? I know people who are supply chain professionals today because the company that offered them supply chain was far better than the company that offered them sales, and they are stuck. And I think that's something people really need to think about. Choosing a brand over choosing what you are best for is something people find it still difficult. Now, I may have been lucky with that. Maybe choices didn't come to me where I had to take such a difficult decision.
Tell us a little bit, Ali, now, about your role now. I mean, what kind of things do you handle on a daily basis? How challenging does that become for you? And, I'm sure you handle a lot of people around you. How important that becomes when you grow in the system, when you know the system in and out and better to handle these people?
So actually I do only two things now. One is I probably give some strategic direction to my area of work, and I just make sure I have the right people to do the right things. So because I'm doing only two things, that's all that matters, right? And the second one is where it's completely about people management, having the right people in the right roles, and keeping your eye out on how the talent landscape is, who are the people who can potentially come into this role, whether it's from within the organization, outside the organization. I think that's largely what does occupy a large part of my mind.
Ali, sometime back we were discussing about this new generation and them not deciding upon the brand and not the role, exactly what is the kind of work that they will be doing. Beyond that, there is also one other side of the new people who are joining in the system, is the kind of new thought and perspective that they bring in, right? So what is your opinion on these new ideas and initiatives that is coming up within a company like Asian Paints, and how important do you feel that is?
So it's extremely important, and I think this question doesn't hit me very hard, honestly, because it's been happening for a while.
Right.
I think a lot of strides our organization has made over the last many years has come with fresh young blood coming with fresh ideas, fire in the belly. Even recently we have forayed into the space of decor, right? We are not really a paint company, we are a decor company which looks at all aspects of decor. Now, while that strategic acumen may come from the leadership, operationalizing it and making us a successful decor company is really going to come from the youngsters who understand what who probably can bring more insights on what the consumer is looking for. So there are various examples. I think many strides that we have taken have come in with ideas coming in, and ideas can probably co-evolve also, but the energy really coming in from the guys who are really out to come and prove themselves and really create an impact.
Right. Chaitanya, in your case, any new initiative that you have worked on, or anything that you are very proud of, which was not maybe part of the system, and then you actually spearheaded it and you said that we should try this?
So one project that I'm really proud of, and looking back at it, at that moment I was thinking, how can we do it? So we were setting business in Qatar for the first time. Okay, and we had to set up the whole sales team, who are the legs of the organization, who would go to these contractors and architects and sell our product, right? And my project was to set up this entire team. Sitting here in India, right in the middle of the pandemic, just joined the organization, this looked like a huge project. And looking back at it right now, to see 12 people working there and achieving their targets, it's such a good feeling. The model of employment was very different there because the kind of tax laws, the labor laws, it's very different. So that is one project that I'm very proud of.
And from a trainee who has spent a year to someone like you, Ali, you spent, as we mentioned again and again, 16 years, and you don't think that you are that old in the organization yet. Do you think, Ali, you could have changed something in this course, or do you think it's spotless and it's fine?
Yeah, so obviously I think I learned some things in hindsight which if I would advise myself 15 years younger, I would have probably done things with that experience. So few things that I look at are, I think, not going out to understand how the industry works enough in the early part of my career, and I think that's one thing that I feel I should have done more. And I think that you are on an island and you feel that your island is perfect, but if you don't see outside, are you really understanding what else is happening? So I think that's something that I look back at myself and I look back and I feel. But apart from that, I think getting opportunities to do different things every 3 years, 2.5 years, 4 years is something that is very important, and I think I have got that. So I have been lucky and also had a little bit of a say in that, so that's been good for me.
And with your experience, Ali, what would be your parting advice or last piece of advice for these students who want to make their career, maybe just like you, maybe have a span of these many years that you have spent in a system and build something of their own?
I think MBA is the time where you really should figure out what you want to do. Don't join a startup because that's supposed to be the way you are supposed to do it. Join it if you really enjoy a startup. I think that's the most important thing. And the second is, I think I'll repeat, is choices you make today are going to impact your life for a longer time. So do not choose the brand, choose the role. Do not go by peer pressure in choosing your organization. Go with your heart and your gut and your mind. These are the two things.
Absolutely, and that's some great advice, Ali. That's some great advice, Chaitanya, and thank you very much for providing these very valuable insights to the audiences here today. But I would like to end this on a lighter note, and to do that, because why not? We are sitting in the Asian Paints office, and Asian Paints is known for the colors and for the vibrancy that it brings and for the exuberance it brings. And to do that, I have a set of rapid fire questions for you guys, and we are going to have some fun, so let's start that.
Sure.
Your favorite Asian Paints ad and why?
Sunil Babu. This was about a new product, Ultima, that we had launched, and how it had a very good anti-dust performance, and it spoke about a man called Sunil Babu, and he has painted his house new, and I think it really worked.
What works best, listening or talking?
At this moment of time, I should listen more, definitely.
Right. Favorite person in the business world you take inspiration from?
Our CEO is quite inspiring.
I would say Virat Kohli. He's a businessman after all.
Right. One thing students should not do during placements?
I think they should stop wearing suits.
They have to stop being so formal and show their personality, right?
Did you?
No, we should stop doing that.
Casual office conversations or Zoom chats?
Face to face, any day.
And favorite books that you guys refer to?
I'm quite hooked on Sapiens, still reading it.
Atomic Habits
Thank you very much, guys, for
Thank you.
being sporty, for giving these answers to us. I hope whoever is watching this has really enjoyed this conversation, and that was the intention that we had. We thank both Ali and Chaitanya for being so patient, giving answers to all the questions. If you have any more doubts that you need answers for, there's a link in the description. You can check that out. Tell us in the comments below what you liked about the video and if you agree with the kind of advices that you've received today. Thank you very much.